Yep. Somebody else come. I'm going to go ahead and chime it. Jamie? Good morning. My name is Paul Dalzell. I am the worship coordinator of this, the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Charleston. Welcome all of you, our members, our friends, and if this is your first time here, we welcome you and thank you for joining us today. If you came here to be told all the answers to the big questions, you will be disappointed. We won't tell you all the answers. You are more likely to find people who say, some of us believe this, what do you think? You may be sitting beside someone who is an atheist, a pagan, a Christian or a Jew, an agnostic, a Buddhist, a Hindu, a Muslim, a humanist, or someone who doesn't fit into any of those religious categories. They may be lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender or trans, queer or questioning, intersex, asexual or agender, or cisgender, or none of those categories either. What you will find here is a community of people, all different, yet all united in the shared values of justice, equity, transformation, pluralism, interdependence, and generosity, all with love at the center, who will help you find the answers that are right for you. Please know that we welcome you, whoever you are.
Whoever you are, we welcome you. Wherever you come from, we welcome you. Whoever you love, we welcome you. Whoever you are, we welcome you. Wherever you come from, we welcome you. Whoever you love, we welcome you.
Please check your insert for goings-on here at UUC this coming week. Two very important announcements. First, we are redoing our Members and Friends directory. We are starting a process to create a brand new Members and Friends list. You will see this prompt in several places. You may even see Sarah here on Sunday mornings asking for your information. On the back of your order of service, you'll see this announcement and a QR code. If you're one of the cool kids, like me, you can simply scan that code at your convenience, fill out the form, and you're done. Once you've completed it, you will not have to do it again. And we thank you for participating. And second, in 2 weeks, on Sunday, August 24th, we ask you to join us for a day of service, worship service. What began right here 6 years ago as a day to help distribute naloxone to 2 counties has grown. Last year, right here in this room, we helped SOAR pack up kits to send to every state east of the Mississippi, plus 5. This year, over the next 2 weeks, we will be packing up kits to send to every state in the United States. If you can help us during the week of the 19th through the 24th, please come do so. More information will be out there as we prepare for Save a Life Day 2025. Do you want to introduce the chalice reading? Would you like me to introduce the chalice? No, we're going to a video, aren't we? We're not going to do the video. Would you like to, were you going to do the chalice reading? Yes. Okay. Can you hear me?
Can you hear me now? Okay, thank you. We light this chalice as a symbol of reunion. We reunite in this sanctuary to share the flow of our hearts with one another. We gather together in ritual to celebrate our fountains of joy, to hold each other through storms of grief, to guide one another through rapids of transformation, to rest together on ponds of stillness. Together we honor the spirit of water, its many forms, and its life-giving essence. By Katie Savani Gelford.
What about that song? It's up on the.
Yeah.
That
There's
was
a song now.
Oh.
Are we going to do summertime now? This is a time where we recognize those things that are going on in people's lives that are important to them, both the joyous and the sorrowful. And I have a bunch of things on the good page, I think. Can you hear me? Do I need to speak louder? Okay. Congratulations to Emily Harris, Hannah. Emily Hannah?
Not here, but.
Oh, okay. Ashley McClure and our own Sarah Stone for being appointed to Charleston 9-person opiate council to determine how $600,000 in federal funds is distributed, at least here at those, yeah, I know. 3 of them will have a good hearts and judgment. A great turnout for Bernie Sanders yesterday. 5, okay, great. It's a great turnout. Anyway, the event, it was at the convention center, and there was a good UU presence there. Sam Hickman showed a video this AM in the discussion group of his interview of Huey Terry, who started a program that became the nationwide Head Start he showed a video about starting Head Start, and it was fascinating. The state politics tried to kill it. No surprise there. Condolence to Deborah, her scout. Her scout is not, her scout, that's a dog? Is not doing well. She couldn't be here today. Sorry about that. Sorry about that I had trouble reading that. Now, if I get the order of service wrong, let me know, because apparently what I have on my computer and what's in here is a little bit different. Our covenant to each other. This we all say together. Love is the spirit of our faith, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Now it's time for the offering. This is one of the offerings written by Paul Dalzell. The offering we take each Sunday is an opportunity to recommit to this place and to these people. It is as much a ritual as singing together, lighting our chalice, or reciting our unison affirmation. It is a reminder of that form of love we call generosity, and how we show that we believe it is important to worship together, to help our community, and to say yes to the values of our faith. We will now pass the basket, or I guess we've already passed the basket. And please give generously as you are willing and able.
Before we hear this song, Summertime, the beautiful song sung by Archana, I wanted to tell you, I was sharing with Jamie and Archana a memory of mine from high school when I would get on the bus with other kids in cross lanes and then ride down 40th Street before we had the interstate into Nitro. So those kids were considered the mountain kids, and we were going to Nitro, the city kids. So some of the people on our bus, the boys in particular, could be a bit rough and insulting and name-calling and vulgar. But we just thought that's what it was like to ride the bus every morning. Well, one morning, a woman, a girl, I didn't know her name, but she started singing Summertime. And then everyone fell silent, and she sang it beautifully. It was the most wonderful moment, and everyone listened, and then she stopped singing. And I don't remember if they went back to the hollering and name-calling, but it was a sublime moment, and I've never forgotten that. Thank you.
Summertime, and the living is easy. Fish are jumping, and the cotton is high. Oh, your daddy's rich, and your ma's good looking. So hush, little baby, don't you cry. One of these mornings, you're gonna rise up singing. Then you'll spread your wings and you'll take to the sky. But till that morning, there's nothing can harm you. With Daddy and Mammy standing by. With Daddy and Mammy standing by.
Ruth Saifa is going to do a couple of readings for the service today, and this is for our meditation. After the meditation, we'll have some moments of silence.
I think you have to be really close.
This is a meditation in words. There we go. The Negro Speaks of Rivers by Langston Hughes. I've known rivers. I've known rivers ancient as the world and older than the flow of human blood in human veins. My soul has grown deep like the rivers. I bathed in the Euphrates when dawns were young. I built my hut near the Congo, and it lulled me to sleep. I looked upon the Nile and raised the pyramids above it. I heard the singings of the Mississippi when Abe Lincoln went down to New Orleans, and I've seen its muddy bosom turn all golden in the sunset. I've known rivers, ancient dusky rivers. My soul has grown deep like the rivers.
Reach the Sky, number 301, stand as you are willing and able.
We're only doing the first 3 verses.
Touch the earth, reach the sky, walk on shores, on spirits fly, over the
I'm very proud to introduce my daughter, Lauren Weatherford, who, when she was finished with her bachelor's degree, decided she needed a break, and she came to West Virginia. And outside of some time that she spent in Europe and Asia, she stayed here in West Virginia for some reason. Lauren.
Yep. Yeah, there we go. PowerPoint put up. Okay. Yeah, take your time. So, yeah, my name's Lauren Weatherford, and I'm Carol's daughter. I am, oh. Yeah, you're recording for the internet, that's right. Yeah, I'm sorry. I forget. I'm a wanderer, and I'm used to public speaking, so I know I can fill this room, but I forgot about the internet, so I apologize. So Lauren Weatherford, I'm Carol Strozinski's daughter and mother to Jenna Weatherford, who is a third-generation Whitewater River guide. So I did kind of take a slightly different take because Mom and I went back and forth a couple times on the topic, and I misunderstood which topic we were going with, so I went with this one. But it's all similar, so we're good. I came to West Virginia in 1997 and trained as a whitewater guide and met my husband, who was a second-generation whitewater guide. His father had worked with Wildwater Unlimited, which was the first whitewater rafting company in West Virginia. And then from my father-in-law, there was my father, my brother-in-law, and then his wife and myself. So 4 of us in that next generation, and now my daughter, Jenna, third-generation river guide. She and one other are the first 2 third-generation river guides that we're aware of in West Virginia. Now, there's a couple since then, but they are the second. She's 22 years old, and we're very proud of her. One of the things, each of us in our own way, as we've come through, my father-in-law, Midge Weatherford, that was kind of his thing, as being part of that new thing that was happening in Fayetteville and being an adventurer. He has some really great stories. He was there when, actually on my husband's birthday, he was at Summersville Dam instead of being at the hospital because Lady Bird Johnson came to dedicate the Summersville Dam. And there's a fun little side story with that, is that normally when a dam is built and dedicated, they name it after the town to which they flooded to build that dam. In the Summersville area, the town that they flooded was the town of Gad. And Lady Bird went on, when they were making her preparations to come to dedicate the dam, she said, "I will not be dedicating the Gad Dam." So it was then quickly, the name was reassigned to the Summersville Dam at the top of the Gauley River. So in 1968, the first commercial whitewater trip happened on the New River. And I like to have a little bit of engagement with any program that I do. So how old is the New River? It is definitely the oldest in the country, for sure. So depending on how you look at it, it is either the oldest or the second oldest river in the world, which makes the name the New River kind of ironic. So there's carbon dating, and there's several different kinds of geological assessments that will tell you, and the New and the Nile. And then there's this whole thing about whether the bed of the river has ever changed, if it's where it was originally. So basically, how you look at it, it's really, really old. And the way that it happened to get the New River name, which is a fun irony, is that as Westerners were mapping this new world that they were coming into, they were not looking for a river that flowed from the south to the north, because most of our rivers flow from the north to the south. So every time they came across a section of river and they didn't know what it was, they historically would just type out right on their map, New River. And then when they went and looked at the maps and compared them all together, it was New River, New River, New River, New River, and therefore that got the name the New River. So these are the fun stories that if you go down with a West Virginia River Guide, you get little stories all the time. So we have the New River in the late 60s. So basically there were some folks, mostly out of Ohio, who were canoeing on some of the rivers in Ohio, and they heard about this section down here, and they came down and started exploring it. There were women from the very beginning that were engaged in some of this exploration, but as can be expected, it was dominated mostly by males. But I love the fact when I first came to town, and the credit was going to the initial kind of pioneers of the whitewater industry in the Fayette County area, there was a lot of talk of John Dragon, who was the owner of Wildwater Unlimited, his two brothers that were part of it with him, and there wasn't a lot of talk about his wife. But now his wife is part of that story, and if you look at most of the documentation, it talks about John, Melanie Dragon, and then John's two brothers who were part of that initial setup. So that was the first company, and it was about 3 years later that the next company, Mountain River Tours, came along and started rafting, doing some commercial trips, and the industry grew from there to the height of 21 different commercial rafting companies in the Fayetteville, New River area, there's also commercial rafting that happens on the Cheat River, out not far from Morgantown, with several companies up there as well. We are a billion-dollar industry in the state, and it is the premier lead of tourism in the state of West Virginia. Is whitewater rafting really is the heart of it. Now, there's a lot that goes into skiing as well, but whitewater rafting really is what has started all the rest of the outdoor adventure tourism that has happened throughout the state. But I want to spend some of this time, so that's kind of a little bit about that, but I want to spend some of this time talking about my daughter and her team, the Sweets of the East, and what they have kind of been able to accomplish. They're basically their story. So this is an all-women's team. It started, you can go to the next slide if you would. So the team formed in 2015. And the thing about whitewater rafting competition is that it is very different than what we would take you down on a commercial trip. So when we take you down on a commercial trip, we want to take you down a fun ride, tell you stories. You're going to have some high adventure, some adrenaline, and you're going to, have kind of an enjoyable day with a nice leisurely lunch. Rafting competition training is nothing like that. It is very, very different. And what you see here is a picture of the women coming through Pillow Rock on the Gauley River. This is one of the earlier pictures from the early days. But what you will notice is that,
It's the same.
no, I know, I was looking at the picture itself, I can't see it myself, is that if you kind of notice, all their paddles are in a similar formation and so forth. So their job is to get downstream as fast as possible. And one of the things to know about this team, so we have a race that happens every fall as part of our Gauley season on the Gauley River called the Animal River Race. Animal is just the name they gave it. It kind of started out as anything goes river race, and then it turned into something a little more formal, but it still held the name. But there are, just like any of those kind of races, there's those people who are very casual about it and those people who take this as kind of a serious competition. And in our animal race, there's definitely folks who compete seriously, and that's where the team kind of formed. There were some teams, both men, women's, and mixed out west, who were competing at the national and international level, but we didn't have one here. And so a friend of mine, actually, Jo Beth Stom, decided that she wanted to kind of put together a team and see how it went. And so in 2015, the first Sweets of the East team formed in this area and started competing, and they have won the women's division in the animal race ever since. So that's kind of a fun thing. But let me tell you a little bit about what we're talking about when we're talking about this rafting competition. This is Olympic level competition. So when there is not an Olympic sport of rafting, So when it comes to kind of what is an international competition, there are so many sports that have kind of been established as Olympic sports, and in each category, the Olympic Committee will only allow so many different sports to compete. So if you have 10 different sports, like kayaking just became an Olympic sport last year, the last Summer Olympics. So if you have something like kayaking, something else has to be taken out. I personally think that canoe water polo should be removed, because we already have water polo and we have kayaking and canoeing. We shouldn't have canoe water polo. Who plays canoe water polo? I don't know who it is. I feel like it's not Americans. So as an American, I want us to go rafting. But that's one of the reasons. But one of the goals of the national American and some of the international federations of rafting competition is to eventually become an Olympic sport. And so when these teams compete at the national and international level, this is equivalent. These are very serious athletes, some of whom train year-round in a professional type capacity. Ours, unfortunately, don't train quite that hard, but they train pretty hard considering they're basically amateur pro athletes. I don't know how else to describe it. Go ahead and go to the next slide, please. Thank you. So what you have up in front of you is some of the competitions that have happened over the past 10 years. So we're very proud. This is the 10th anniversary of the founding of the team. You might notice a gap in years there. Apparently something happened that caused us not to be able to compete a whole lot. But we have routinely come in certain categories in either the top or the top 3 in every competition that's listed up there. So these women are very serious. And when they train, the training is not just rafting the river. The training is going and really doing laps. A lot of it's done in flat water, where they're really just gaining their strength. And then they also do things like, working out in the gym and so forth. But this year, if you notice, the last 2 entries was the Pucón, Chile in 2024, and then they're going, I don't even know how to say that. I'm not going to pretend to say it. But in Argentina, they're headed to Argentina in November in 2025. So in order to make these international competitions, you have to qualify at a different competition in order to get to this level and then be invited. So let me tell you a little bit about, go ahead and go to the next slide if you would. So here's how a rafting competition works. It's a lot like some of your field and track type events, but there's 4 different elements. So the very first day is you do a short sprint, and you usually do that by yourself, and that's a time trial to figure out your placing. So, and we also, depending on the competition, you will either do rafts of 4 or rafts of 6. So it alternates every year at the Worlds, because the Worlds is every 2 years, and then it alternates 4s and 6s after that. So then you have a head-to-head, oh, it got cut off at the bottom, I'm sorry. Head-to-head for 200 points. So head-to-head is exactly what it sounds like. They put all sorts of crazy things in the river so that you know where to start. So you have like 2 kind of buoys that tell you have to stay between those buoys, and then they do a starter gun, and you go downstream as fast as you can in a head-to-head competition. And then your time is actually what places you in the beginning. And they do have heats, just like they would before. So, there may be 20 teams who do the first heat and 10 teams who do the next heat, 5, and however it depends on how many people are there. So slalom is actually fascinating. So how many of you are familiar with like ski slalom with gates? So this is very similar, but to me, much harder. So instead of skiing through gates by yourself, going downhill, you're in a boat with 4 to 6 other people, and you have to hit the gates going upstream. So what you do is you have to cross the river back and forth across the current, and then an eddy is a small spot on the side, which is kind of got water that usually is created by some kind of an obstruction, and it literally turns around and goes upstream. And so you hit that eddy and the water turns and goes upstream, and you have to clear a gate, And it's just like other gates. You can't touch the gate. You have to, there's certain rules, like the boat can go under the gate, but the people have to go around the gate. And you have to turn around and go upstream and then pull back into the current, go back across the water, go into an eddy, come into the next gate. And those gates are very, very difficult to hit. So you can kind of imagine how much strength and endurance it takes to paddle as fast as you can across current, go around through things, make sure you clear them, then pull back out in the current, cross it again, go back out, and keep doing that probably 5 to 6 times for the competition. The gates are by far the hardest in terms of endurance and physicality. And then in the last one, is is just a downriver. So that's usually about 5 miles that you start out, you get a gun, and every 30 seconds they set another boat down and you just paddle downstream as fast as you possibly can, which sounds not so bad until you realize this is still class 4, class 5 whitewater. So you're not just going downstream on a nice easy river you're not going just fast. You're going fast and you're running class 4 or 5 whitewater. So you have to also deal with the big waves and the big rocks and all those kinds of things and navigate how to get through them. Does anyone have any questions about the events that they do so far? Okay. All right, next slide. So this is just the logos. USA Raft Association is kind of the entity that holds the competitions here in the country. And then there's 2, and I know this might come as a shock in our current climate. You have the International Rafting Federation and you have the World Rafting Federation, and they haven't gotten along well enough yet to combine into one. So there is still 2, and they've threatened for the past 4 or 5 years and to combine, so there would just be one international entity. But there's still 2. So this one in Argentina is being held by the World Rafting Federation. Next slide, please. Let me step aside. So when the women went to Chile, which I was able to accompany on them, I was literally a team mom, but then I also kind of did other team mom stuff and drove shuttles for the river and that kind of thing. But there were 250 competitors. This was a Pan American Championship, so it was mostly from the Americas, although they do have an international category, and we did have competitors there from Italy and Japan. Italy and Japan are very serious about this being an Olympic level sport, so they go to all the other races that they can possibly go to and compete at the highest level possible, and so they were also there, and they were unbelievably amazing athletes. Japan blew my mind. So I did kind of ask the women of the team some of the things that they felt they got from these rafting competitions and being part of this team. And I really loved this quote from Margaret Cadmus, who is the only team member who's been on it since 2015. And she talked about just the kind of some of the things you might expect, the team bonding and the physicality, but that ability to kind of commune with other women doing this thing together that is competitive and strength training and all the physicality that comes with it. But then I love the fact that she threw in, she really loves when they get in the boat and they have that moment, and because people do not always take the Americans as seriously as some others, and then they see them and they go, oh wait, they're here to play. So she really talked about that moment when people become intimidated by how serious and how fierce our women really are. So it's pretty exciting stuff. So that's kind of the key things about the team. But I want to show you just some pictures from Pucón. So here's the current lineup of the women's team that competed in Chile. The colored hair. Yeah, my daughter Jenna is the brightly colored hair. Her hair color changes from time to time, but you can always spot her in the mix there. So this is at our Airbnb right in Pucón, Chile, which is an absolutely stunningly beautiful place. Pucón, Chile is much like a Fayetteville. It's an outdoor adventure town. They've got lakes and a volcano that people ski on and all sorts of things. It's become kind of a hub for outdoor adventure and recreation. But it was nice because that allowed for some more places to stay and so forth. But this is a photo we took right outside the Airbnb. So next photo, please. So what you're seeing here is kind of a mix of all the competitors. So, you know, it's like any sport. When you're competing, you're on the field or you're on the track. In this case, you're on the river. And when you're not, as a competitor, you're watching everybody else and trying to clock their moves and see who your competition is. And so what you're seeing here is all of us standing on the side of the river, really watching the event, but also kind of taking notes and talking to each other about strategy. So next. So this is our team scouting out the competition. You can see some of those same team members looking and really watching and discussing how you enter gates and how you're going to get through to these different elements on the river. Okay, next. So what you're looking at here, this photo and the next photo, this is the head-to-head competition. This is like bump and grind NASCAR of rafting. I called it combat rafting because when you do the head-to-head, you literally are trying to get in there and bump the next person into the wall, or in this case, high up into the eddy, because then it's harder to get out of the eddy. But we are racing Brazil, who has a full-time year-round team with professional coaches, and we gave them a run for their money. We were very proud. Brazil came in first in the overall, and we had everything to match them. We did come slightly behind, came in second to Brazil, but it was combat rafting. So let's go to the next photo, and you'll see a picture, and you can see kind of how hard my friend Lexi there is. I mean, they give it everything they've got, and it is pretty fantastic. But it is just as exciting to watch when you're doing the head-to-head. I wish I had video, but I didn't, unfortunately, but if anybody wants. So they have a Facebook page called Sweets of the East, and there's video of these different things on there. They also have an Instagram, so if anybody, and I have actually a video here in a minute that I'm gonna show you a little bit. It's not quite the bump and grind of the head-to-head, but we'll see some competition. Let's go ahead and go next. So if you click on this, hopefully it will play the video. This is us watching them do the downriver. Is it playing at all? No. Well, I had it uploaded on the thing. I thought it might just play. Well, in this case, you guys are going to have to go to the Facebook page then. So, yeah. It's the same as anything else. So these women raise their own funds with local donations and sponsorships. Now, we do compete. There are some teams out west that also compete in the Chile competition. We were the only women's American teams. I think in Worlds, I think we're also the only women's American team. We had a mixed team and a seniors team who were down there with us from Tahoe. But you can imagine trying to raise funds. The teams from Tahoe, they might have a leg up on us in terms of raising funds because they're in Tahoe. But no, we do everything from local businesses to individual donors. In fact, I would be remiss from the team if I didn't. At the end, you will get a QR code to go to their GoFundMe page if anybody is interested. You can also get to the GoFundMe from their Facebook page. But they're currently raising $10,000 to be able to help support. They have some sponsorships and some other monies to be able to help them train and so forth. And because they've been around for 10 years, they've got an account, but they won't be able to go to Argentina without that additional $10,000. So yeah, and it is everything from just local businesses and individuals to, you know, some corporate sponsorships. NRS is a big gear producer for Whitewater. They've got an NRS sponsorship and a few others. So Rocky Mountain Rafts, which is a Fayetteville local rafting company that builds rafts. They're one of their sponsors. So I'm sorry the video didn't play. I had it embedded, so I thought it would play, but that's okay. So there's a picture of me, Team Mom, hanging out watching the competition. I figured it would be weird if I didn't at least put myself in there once. So, and next. This is after the race. This is kind of one of the fun and exciting things about doing things like this. You don't think, we so often think of West Virginia as this kind of place where we're of ourselves. We raise West Virginians, we have the West Virginia pride, we think of this, but things like whitewater rafting have opened the entire world to West Virginia. So what I'm showing you here is the guy in the middle standing next to the very pretty lady with the black hair is a guy named David Hughes, who grew up in Tennessee, moved to West Virginia, started a business as a kayaker. He was a video kayaker for the rafting companies, and he started a business as an international kayak school business out of Fayetteville. And for years, people would pay to send their kids to go to high school with him, but also kayak all the time. And as part of that international school, he started taking trips down to Chile. And eventually, he transitioned that international school, and he bought some land and created an outfitter called Pucón Kayak Retreat, and he lives down there. And I had known him when my kids were tiny. He used to come play poker at my house with my husband. And when I called him up and I said, "Hey, we're coming to this competition. It's in your town," and he said, "It's not just in my town. It's on my property." So the whole competition just happened to be at my friend David's place, and we were able to stay there. And he did give me I gave my money to Jenna's college fund in the poker game discount. I had to write that down once. So, but this is our friend David and his fiance and the team, and we're standing in front of the quincho, which is like the kitchen for the resort, which is, you can see it's absolutely stunning. He's got riverside views and yurts and all sorts of beautiful things in this very small thing that he's built from scratch. We count him as a local, but that just goes to show you how small the world can be when you open your hearts to people from everywhere. So, all right, next page. So this is just another team. You can see that there is a volcano. I traveled the world a lot, never seen a volcano. It actually went from green to yellow while we were there. We were all very concerned, and the locals were like, goes to yellow all the time. But that is kind of us. You see the lake and the volcano and just us kind of exploring town. It's really beautiful. The locals were amazing, so warm and welcoming. If you speak Spanish, though, which unfortunately none of us did, so in our very bad Spanglish that we took down there with us, we realized that going to Chile is like going to Alabama or Georgia. They speak Spanish, but you can't understand any of it. So you could say that about parts of West Virginia, too. But yeah, we had fun kind of we were like, I think they said, but it was very interesting to play with the dialects and the languages there. But the Chileans were really wonderful. All right, one more slide. 2 more slides. I just love this photo. We took this photo with the guys had all their gear out on the deck, and we were like, that's just cool. So we took that, kind of gives you that like emotional, like Team America, which we were. Like we were Team USA, which was very exciting and very fun to represent. And there is your QR code. So if anybody you certainly don't have to, but if anybody would like to help support the women to head to Argentina, they will be Team USA as far as we know. I don't think any men's team is going this time. So it's just them representing. So any questions or thoughts? Yes?
Is your poker game around here?
Is my what?
Poker game.
The poker game is no more. Unfortunately, it went away with my husband. No, we're in Fayetteville. Poker was actually my escape when my kids were young. I had started graduate school when my youngest daughter was 3 weeks old. And so he would gather his friends to play poker on Sunday nights, and he would put the kids to bed and play poker, and I would hide in the bedroom for 3 hours, happily by myself. So that's where our poker game came from.
Does anyone ever get knocked out of the boat in these competitions?
Absolutely. So knocked out as much as kind of fallout, but yes, they do. If you're in a raft and you're on Whitewater, you have the chance of swimming. That is always it is. Like I said, I started whitewater rafting. Well, I started when I was in college in 92, 91, 92, but as a guide, 97. The rule is it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. If you keep getting in the boat enough times, you'll swim. So. Mm-hmm. Sure?
How much would it cost to go rafting with a cruise?
It does vary a little bit because we have the outfitters have everything from an express trip, which is a little discounted, to the full day trip, and the full day trip kind of adds lunch and a more casually pace. But I think the lowest is about 120 per person, and it goes to up to 200. But we have overnights and things like that, so there's a wide variety. And if you type in Whitewater, Fayetteville, West Virginia, you will get. I no longer advocate for any particular outfitter, so I do represent one, but I feel like you all should make your choice, because now, as of last year, there is now international corporate whitewater rafting in Fayetteville, West Virginia. So sometimes people have preferences for locally owned or want the big show. All of those options are available. Yep. There's also 6-year and older whitewater, like kind of more float trip type stuff with a little whitewater mixed in. So 6 years to 86, and then you have to be 14 to 16 to go on the bigger sections. Any other questions? Yep. Sure.
When I've been whitewater rafting, there's the people on the side, and then there's a guide in the back.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have that guide in the back in this competition?
No, there is no single guide, because that actually drags down your time. What you need is every single person pushing the boat forward. So there are the two people in the back right. Well, really, you learn, it's just like in any sport, you learn your position. So let's go with just the 4, because that's a little simpler. In the back, depending on how you're turning, the 2 in the back will push or pull to turn the back of the boat, but the people in the front can also reach forward. So the best way I know to explain it, as you're going down a river, anytime there is an obstruction in the river, a vacuum is created behind it. So if you have a rock in the river, there is a vacuum created, and that's why you will see water either pouring over or coming around a rock and swirling around like a washing machine behind it. And that happens in flat water, that happens in busy water. Sometimes it creates waves, sometimes it creates just different patterns in the river, but those places where the water turns around behind an obstruction to fill in a vacuum will turn or redirect your boat or slow it down or speed it up. So you need to have all 4 people understanding what's happening with the water, so that you can maybe stick your paddle in this piece of water to make it go faster, stick your piece in that piece of water to make it slow down or change direction. So what you have to have is communication. That is the biggest key. And one of the women, when I asked them to just send me 3 things about what was most important or impactful about your participation in this, and one of them said, learning to not be in charge and trust the people I'm with. Because if you don't, and they said they've learned because they've had different iterations of team membership over these 10 years, and if you don't communicate really, really well and get along and learn to deal with stress and challenges, the team won't be successful, because you have to be able to trust and communicate. Anything else? All right, thank you.
Thank you, Lauren. Now we're about to close, and Ruth's going to do that for us.
She's taller than I am. Everybody's taller than I am. Let Our Lives Be a Prayer by Joel Miller. Let our lives be a prayer that waters dry souls, mends broken hearts, refuses to be terrorized, seeks this world's beauty, and carries us through its storms. Go in peace. The service is ended.
If you haven't noticed, all my postludes have been protest songs. And I'm continuing this with Bella Ciao. It's an Italian folk song that originated as a protest song against harsh working conditions in the rice paddies by the women working in the rice paddies of northern Italy. It later became an anthem of the Italian resistance movement during World War II, symbolizing the fight against fascism and German occupation. I tried to translate it to English, but it doesn't work. Just know it's Bella Ciao.
You made the timing perfect. Look what Lauren bought me from the beach. This is when the lightning hits the water and it turns into this stuff. Eventually, it's sand. Eventually, it'll wear away. I've been wanting to use it. Paul, I told her 10 or 15 minutes. Yeah, I mean, it worked out.